from FisherMN here. I have made an executive decision in the winter challenge. I've decided to give myself one extra day to get to one more lake locally. If you watched last week's episode, how much fun was that? A local lake, super windy. Man, I was getting blown everywhere. And almost coming across with a 90-inch limit. In fact, that one that jumped off would have got us to 90 inches. Pretty amazing. The jig ended up being the lure that worked. And the area that I thought was going to work best, we didn't get one keeper off of that area. But just down from it, we did. So you gotta try everywhere on these lakes. Especially if you know there's fish, there's somewhere. There's always something eating. That was rewarding last week, getting into some local bass. And I say local, I consider anything local within an hour of my house. And I'm pretty close to the Minneapolis metropolitan area. I'm on the northern suburbs. And it just seems like sometimes when I go to these lakes, they're kind of overfished. So it's nice to have this format where I have a challenge. It kind of gives me a reason to get out to some lakes that maybe I'll just kind of pass on and drive a couple hours to fish a lake where I think that there's maybe some bigger fish or more fish. But you know what I can? I always get up to Grand Rapids. So this is fun. I am planning this week on doing my northern swing, which is going to be north of Cloquet and west of Cloquet, which we're getting into that Grand Rapids area. So let's see what our local lakes can do. But coming soon, I'm excited to head up north and see how they can match up to some of these city lakes. Last time out, this lake that I'm going to, the landing, at least at 5 in the morning, seemed like it was blocked, but my buddy Paul gave me some information saying it's open. And he also said the fish are biting. So I'm going to give myself today, and it'll be interesting because we're going to get there in mid-afternoon, and it's about the time that I left off with the last lake that you just saw in the winter challenge. As you know, the rule is to get on the lake, catch a limit of 5 bass, 12 inches or longer, and have 1/2 hour to cull if I want to, and then get off and get to another lake. So this may just be a quick trip, especially if the fish are going like Paul was saying. So we're going to get on this lake, brand new to me. I've never been on this lake before. Got a couple of tips from Paul. Thank you, Paul. And we're going to see what we can do. I've got similar weather to what's been happening in the last couple of days. Got some cloud cover. The next couple of days, all the clouds are going to burn off and it's going to be kind of high skies and sunny. So I'm excited. I'm just sneaking out in an afternoon. And I've got 3 rods with me. Of course, we got the frog rod, got the bladed jig rod, and we got the jig rod. It sounds like the jig rod and the bladed jig rod are going to play the biggest part, but we'll see. We'll see what we can get. Let's get to the lake and catch some fish. All right, we made it, everybody. Look at that, the boat's ready. Didn't do the usual shot of it getting ready. Want to get out on this new body of water that supposedly is full of bass. Let's go fishing. So the other morning when I thought it was blocked off, I was going in that end, but it's wide open right here if I would have just kind of kept my head up. All right, time for the start of this challenge. 2:32 p.m. All right, here we go. 2:32 p.m. Middle of the day. Now, I'll just say the sun just came out. I was hoping that I'd have some cloud cover. And if this is your first challenge video you're watching, the challenge is to catch a limit of bass and then move on to another lake. This is actually a makeup lake because the last time I kind of thought the landing was closed, so I didn't get to this one. So I'm giving myself a chance to see if I can get 5 on this lake. Be a good test here later in the afternoon. Will we have to go out deeper, Or will we just stay tight to these docks? Do they just kind of sit under the docks, maybe? I'll even put my boat in reverse, just in case we get one. Trying to get in that shade underneath there. There we go. There we go. Good news is we got a fish. Bad news is it's up. There we go. All right, first chunker right under the dock where my buddy said they'd probably be. On or around the docks. Hooked in the tongue. Sorry, buddy. All right, summer winter challenge. Is this our first? There it is. 14.75 inches. Our first to our limit of 5. So glad I had my boat in reverse. It might be the first time I've skipped a jig under a dock where it didn't clang off of something and it actually worked. Technique I need to work on, obviously. All right, we've got one dockfish. Seeing all kinds of surfacing out here. As we head to this next dock, let's do an experiment. Let's buzz them up. Middle of the day. Let's see what we can do with the buzz bait. All right, one dock fish. Got one to our limit. First half hour or so, just kind of worked my way down the shore. I'm gonna look for the weed edge here. And then throw the jig right on the edge, right where those weeds drop off. I think our best bet's gonna be the shadier shore, as it's getting to be later afternoon. It's kind of a longer lake, so before I go all the way down to the other end with all the clouds I see, I'm gonna check the forecast just to be safe. Man, we got that first dockfish and I'm like, oh, this will be easy. Never, especially in the middle of the day. Gives you a hint that those fish might be looking for some shade. I'll go back to the chatterbait. Buzzbait maybe on the shadier shore. Also remember Paul saying maybe a lighter color. The only question is, do I have any? Oh, here we go. Some white power stingers. I gave a package of them to some kids that were fishing. I gave them each a chatterbait to try. I saw them at a landing and they gave them a thing of power stingers because goodness knows I got plenty of power stingers. Just not with me. But luckily we got some in here. All right, we've got a custom chatterbait 3/8 ounce white pattern with a pearl white tail. Let's get our limit. All right, guess what you didn't see again? Boy, this has happened a few times on this winter challenge. I promise I'm not driving up to other boats seeing if they'll give me a fish. There we go. Paul was saying long and lean. Definitely long and lean. Boy, this guy pulled too. All right, what do we got? 17.5. Second fish, 17.5. Right by the dock. All right, there's 2 to the limit. Let's get a time on him. 3:37. 3:37, hanging right out there. I'd thrown the jig a few times and thought, you know what, I'll give this chatterbait a try. Glad I did. Well, I was gonna buzz past all these docks, but maybe they're worth a cast or two. There we go. Man, when you hit the right spot, they smash it. What do we got here? Another long and lean one. All right. Welcome to the boat. Third fish to the limit. Feisty. Let's get him measured. 16 inch bass. All right, third to the limit, 16, nice. My buddy Paul had said go to the left from the landing. So I started out there and he was right, there's more weeds. And I did get a dock fish, but I think with the sun where it's at, I'm gonna have to stay on this shore. Late in the day, the bass kinda, I think, take a break and want some shade and stuff. So, man, the last two fish, as soon as that bait hit, they just smashed it. Not the chunkiest of fish, but man, they're fighters. That's all I need to know too, is that they could possibly be in shallower like that. Huh. This is one I've kind of modified because the clip came broken. Or the clip kind of broke. Oh my goodness. As soon as that hit the water, bang. All right, we might have found a shore where they're kind of stacked up a little bit. We'll keep moving forward. All right, we got one under a dock, one by a dock, and one under a tree. So, holding close to structure here in the mid-late afternoon. There's fish. Fourth to the limit. Not a monster, but fourth to the limit. What do we got for this one? 15. Can we get 15 and a quarter? Nope, 15. There we go, 15 incher. Fourth fish. It's kind of picking them up here and there. Got a little bit of wind on this side of the lake, so that might fire them up a little bit. Right in between the two docks. Got all these little aerators or whatever you want to call them, kind of moving the water. I don't think that hurts for having fish hanging around. You know, whatever lake you're on, use the information you have. That was actually the third area that had one of those, and the first one I got a fish on. Well, guess what, everybody? I just caught a 17.5 inch thick fish, measured it, sent it on its way, and my camera wasn't on. So you know what? I guess that one doesn't count. I stopped at this spot and I had one on that I lost. And then I got that big old 17.5 incher, nice thick fish for our fifth fish, but doesn't count. I guess it doesn't count. It's not on camera. We got a perfect combination. We got some weeds here. We got some moving water. Let's see if we get a chance at a third one. Don't know what's going on with not having the camera on. I don't know if it shuts off on its own. If I'm just when I do a battery switch, I'm forgetting. Hopefully we'll get a big one and forget about that mistake. Oh, here I thought I was going to be in cull time, but we're back in regular time. Needing one more. We need one more for our limit. Nice little chunker. There we go. There's our fifth to the limit. Fifth fish to the limit. Let's see what he's at. We had our 17.5 that didn't count because didn't get it measured. 15 3/4. All right, 15 3/4 completes our 5 fish limit, and it is 4:50 p.m. So we've got until 5:20 to cull. We're kind of figuring some stuff out, getting on the side of the lake with a few more weeds. Let's go. Not sure how far down it is, but there's a spot right off the road I saw. And on the way here, I thought, you know what? If we got our limit, that'll be our kind of our cull spot. So I'm not sure if this might be it right here. If not, it's just down a little ways. What I'm going to do right here is I'm going to take out a rod we haven't used yet. Looking for a cull or two. I think 15s are our smallest. Fishing the edge closest to me first, not chucking it in there, just in case there's a few fish that are willing to bite. I don't think this is the spot I saw from the road, but it looks like a good spot, so we'll give it a little bit of a chance. All right, one more on the pads, and then let's see if I can find that cull spot that I was thinking about. We got about 5 cull minutes left. Can we get? I would love to get a 17-incher, just because we had one. Got some nice grass here. I think we'll drag the jig through in our last 5 minutes of cull time. Alright, a little over 5:25. No cull fish on this time, but black and blue jig kind of came to the rescue today. Caught a couple under docks, and I guess chatterbait too. So just an eclectic mix. Frog's not in the mix right now, but I'm sure that'll become a player as I go on with this series. But yeah, here we go, 3rd local lake, and got a limit on all the lakes so far that I've tried. So we got 3 in the near west, as I call it, and we got 3 local lakes. I should call them Paul's lakes because Paul kind of told me about them. But you know what? Time to head in because we got our limit. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.